I was reading a book the other day. Reading a book? Yes, it's all about civilization or something. A nutty kind of a book. Do you know that the guy says that machinery is going to take the place of every profession?
What do you say?
No.
Tomorrow night?
No.
Next year?
No.
Good. Because by me it's this way. The longer they know, the harder they yes.
Well, I don't want to be honorable with you unless it's absolutely necessary.
It's the Al Travis Show. We're lucky to have her. She's Senator Julia Coleman, the Assistant Minority Leader here in Minnesota. Senator, how are you and yours?
Hey, I'm doing great. Have a little one on the mend, but we're all, getting in ready for Thanksgiving.
Well, and I don't know I don't want to go in too far, but I did see that your son had an operation, was hospitalized. Is he doing okay?
He is. It's actually a peak mother story of very first kid-free, work-free trip in 7 years. I land in Tampa, I go to the beach, and I get a call that we had some toddler on toddler trampoline violence and little guy's elbow is facing the opposite direction. And so my suitcase is still filled with sand with how fast I got back home, and
Wow.
an operation, some pins and stitches and a cast later. He's on the mend. He's just very
Okay,
bored.
good.
Very bored.
Oh,
Thanks for asking.
no, and good. I'm glad. And you have big plans for the holiday. You like Thanksgiving? Is that your holiday?
Oh, I love to cook. I've
I
been
love
dry
it.
brining a turkey for 2 days already. Like this is my time to shine.
I love that. Congratulations. All right, a couple of stories. I want to talk about the Democrats for a minute, but I'm going to start with the Republican side. We saw Senator Draheim is not going to re-up. He's going to run out of time. He's not going to run again. I just saw the Senator House said the same thing. I know there's a couple big ones on the Democratic side. I don't know. I'm asking, is this a normal attrition rate? Is there something more going on here or less? How normal is this year so far that a year out we have these many saying no thank you? It's a huge drain numbers wise. I think I read somewhere it's like 400 years of experience are walking out the door.
Yeah, I have only been around for 2 terms. And
Okay.
so my first term, I saw a ton of retirements. So for me, this is normal.
Okay.
But historically, I'm not sure, but we are losing so many just giants of the Senate. It's going to make the entire institution different.
Does it, and I don't know where they all sit. I know the two Democrats when they left, those are pretty decent Democrat districts. Are the Republicans that left pretty locks out? Are we looking at numbers changing, I guess is my question. It's a year out. Depends who gets in, I suppose. Are you concerned?
So far, these are deep red districts that I have
Okay.
no concern about.
Okay.
So I don't see this changing the dynamics.
All right, fair enough. Now we go to the other side of the coin because I thought this was interesting. I thoroughly believe the Star Trib will run defense for this administration, Tim Walz, all day long and on Sundays as well. But they ran a story yesterday, that basically said there are a faction in the Democratic Party that really wish he was not running for a third term, that they believe he will drag that whole ticket down and could cost them the Senate and the House and possibly obviously the governorship and some statewide offices. Senator, my question is whether you think that could be true. But second is what's going on if the Star Tribune is writing that article a year out when there was no push for it. You know what I'm saying? What was the big nugget of news in that?
It's scuttlebutt that I have been hearing from other Democrats. There
Okay.
is a lot of nervousness because Governor Walz, for the most part, was seen how he was seen as the congressman, very bipartisan, pro 2A, didn't really rock the boat until he got his eyes set on the White House. Now, ultimately, he ended up being the vice presidential candidate.
Mm-hmm.
But Americans, and a lot of feedback I get from Minnesotans who say they used to like him until he was under a microscope and they got a good look at him. So I think there are
Mm-hmm.
people that are nervous that his ambitions to continue running are going to drag down the rest of the ticket in what's arguably supposed to be a good year for Democrats.
Well, it is the midterms, and that would generally not go well for the people who are in charge, Trump. But I thought the article actually put that out there pretty well. Will Minnesota be an indication of Trump or Walz which is going to get hurt. And I'm going to throw out to you, I don't know how long Walz can continue to get this drip, 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 drip of bad news every single day about something under his administration. Is this not prime territory for Walz? I mean, even if he had none of that, Senator Coleman, even if he had none of that, the fraud stuff, it's hard to get a third term. You throw all this in, is it even realistic?
I think you're absolutely right that Democrats have every right to be nervous right now. And
Mm-hmm.
Republicans have to bear in mind that we have to put up somebody then
There
that can win in the suburbs, that
Yep.
can articulate the message well. We can't go for the Trump of Minnesota. That's
Mm-hmm.
not going to work here. I can't tell you how many people I go door knocking and they say, I can't stand the president, but I'm going to vote for you. I vote Republican
Mm-hmm.
for everyone but him. We
Mm-hmm.
need that. We need somebody who can really just resonate with the average Minnesotan and working moms and dads in the suburbs that are just trying to get by day to day and get their kids a good education. And that's going to hit on this fraud issue. I think there's a number of good people that could do that. So we have to keep our eyes on the prize. Now, it is going to take some discipline from Washington Republicans as well, though.
Mm-hmm.
They've got a short runway here to make people's paychecks start going farther. They have a short
Mm-hmm.
runway for the president to stop saying things late at night on Truth Social that might end up turning people off of the Republican message and distracting from the great things we're putting out there. So, I mean, I've never seen a year where it's going to be so 50-50 and really depend on what happens in the moment.
Well, even on that national moment, I don't disagree with you at all. But Trump is keeping Minnesota and Tim Walz in the nation's eye. This whole SNAP thing and whether we're going to allow Somali people with the TPS. And I mean, from the most part, it's going to be more than most people even care to think about. But then Tom Emmer comes out and he's saying that our money from Minnesota was shipped off, Al-Shabaab. And so, how do I put it? In Washington, they're keeping the focus on Minnesota and Tim Walz. Isn't that, maybe that's part of a strategy, maybe it's not, but isn't that the result? Day in, day out, another headline about what's happening here in Minnesota.
I think that Trump holds grudges. So the fact that Tim Walz was taking shots at him publicly got Minnesota on his radar.
Mm-hmm.
And two, having our congressman as the third most powerful man in Washington, D.C. It really helps to keep the national focus on what's going on here. He does a great job of questioning the governor. He was just here yesterday trying to raise for Republicans that aren't even in Congress, just for the state Senate and state House, because he is determined to turn this state around. So, and use his resources as majority whip to do so.
Sure.
So it is great to have him out there helping us get that message out.
On the Republican side, let me ask you this, and you don't give me any names. I'm sure you won't even be. Are you hearing, you talk about needing the right person to run against Walz? We always, from statewide, from top to bottom, all of it needs to be the right person. Are we set yet? I mean, we're literally less than a year away from that election. Is the playing field set? Those that are in, or are you hearing that there might be others? Because I had heard last week, maybe the week before, that we may not have all the people placed yet.
I don't think we've seen the full field of candidates for either the governor or the U.S. Senate seat. I think what's going to be fascinating to watch is if the Republican endorsement, which normally is king, is actually going to matter at all, because some candidates are finally saying, this is not the best system right now for us.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm going to go straight to a primary. What's going to weed out people right away is when we look at some end of the year fundraising reports, what people are doing as far as getting national media attention. And there's a couple of candidates I've heard from that are courting Trump's endorsement, and that might be the nail in the coffin for the rest of the candidates. So the field isn't completely shaped yet, but I think we're going to see that happen within the next few months here.
Okay, and you probably know this much better than I. Can someone get in less than, you're saying somebody else might, can you get in with 11 months, get into a governor's race in Minnesota where you're going to need to spend, $20 million to be in the game? Can you raise that kind of money in Minnesota to make that work, or are you going to have to be an independently wealthy human?
You're either going to have to be independently wealthy or have quite the name ID. Now, this is not a rumored name, but say Justin Jefferson were to get into this race.
Okay.
Both independently wealthy,
Yeah,
incredibly likable, and would
yeah,
probably attract big donors around the country. So we're talking somebody
I
of
see.
that kind of caliber with name ID, fundraising capability, and celebrity.
Justin Jefferson, the wide. Okay, so here's the thing: can you get Sundays off if you're the governor, so you can go to?
The
Anyway.
reason that's on the top of my mind is because my one of my twins asked me to write a letter to him on his behalf
Oh,
this week. So that's why that was the first name that came out for me.
I love that idea. Let's go to break. We've got lots to talk about. It again is a slow drip of news articles going on here today about more fraud. We'll talk about it with Senator Julia Coleman right after this.
You need a friend at the
If it's your turn to host a game, Grandpa's Barbecue suggests you try something different. Put out the perfect barbecue flavor of Grandpa's Barbecue. Add it to your ribs, dip the meatballs, or drench your wings in the original flavor of Grandpa's Barbecue. It isn't too hot or spicy, fruity or smoky or whatever. Grandpa's Barbecue. Available in select stores and online at grandpasbarbecueshop.com.
Talk amongst friends. The Al Travis Show. Nothing but talk.
Lucky to have our Senator Julia Coleman on the program with us. Senator, again, today's papers all have just one more thing after the next thing after the next thing as far as feeding our futures, fraud, was money going to Al-Shabaab, an audit for the SNAP program shows that Human Services did not even run the computer system reviews that they were supposed to in 2020 or 2023. There's some young man who decided He'd set up a post office box, do this, helping housing people, got $7 million sent to him, and it was, or $1.1 million. No, it was $7 million for this kid. It was out of a post office box. That's all he had. Named a company, got a post office box. We sent him $7.1 million. Shouldn't be that easy. Another kid, supposed to be feeding 40,000 people a day or a week in Moorhead, Minnesota. There are 45,000 people in Moorhead, Minnesota. Didn't matter. We sent them $1 million in money, and, they got caught, and they're going to jail. Can the Walz administration survive this drip, drip, drip of story after story? Or are people getting callous to it?
I'm nervous that people are getting callous to it, but I hope that Republicans can do a good job of pointing out just how easy this could be to prevent. Now, I don't know if you're aware of this, Al, but the Democrat Party in Minnesota thoroughly watches your show for Republicans and then tries to clip them out of context to make them sound bad. So, to the Democrat listening, as I'm sure you're prone to do with 90% of my good ideas and copy this bill, I have a great idea for you of a bill you blocked, which simply says before an agency releases grant money, they have to make one site visit beforehand to check out what's going on and make sure it's legitimate. Democrats block that from happening, but you know what? Feel free to take it.
Yeah, some of the common sense stuff is beyond. I mean, I don't know. You look at a map. How big is Moorhead? 45,000 people. Oh, this guy's feeding just about everyone at least once a week. It's feasibly impossible, let alone, you send a DHS person over there and take a look around. But, okay, here's the one that I want to. Here's the thing that I think will help Republicans in the short term by 2026. I think Minnesota's paid family leave program that starts, by the way, just 6 weeks from now, is going to frustrate and infuriate a very lot of people. Right now, there's no limit on the number of people who can care for somebody. So if my mother falls ill, Al can say, I need time off. I've got to help my mother. Okay, she's ill. You can. My 6 brothers and sisters all can do the same thing. There's no limit on the number of us that can help her out, and all get it. She doesn't have to live in the state, right? She doesn't have, I could, as I understand it now, have 2 jobs, quit just one of them to get this Minnesota paid family leave, and still work the other one. You can't tell me who is or isn't in on how I feel about that person. My next door neighbor, who I always loved as my grandmother, I can use that as I understand it. There are no limits on this program. Senator, this is going to skyrocket out of the yard, and people are going to be mad because they're going to have to cover for the person next to them in line, and businesses are going to go broke. Tell me I'm wrong, or tell me how it's going to work better.
You're completely accurate, and it's millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars over budget before it's dealt out one single benefit check. So the thing is, people think Republicans are so against paid family leave. That's not it. We looked at the state of Minnesota and realized there's a small segment of our industries that isn't able to offer those benefits. And so what we proposed that Democrats blocked was a insurance authorization, as well as money for small businesses, 50 and fewer employees, to pay for the premiums so that the ones that can't offer this benefit can, and we could fill in the gaps while allowing employers to still have flexible options based on what works best for their industry and their employees' needs. And it was going to cost the state, I think, $50 million at most. That would have been it. And so what we started pointing out to Democrats, and this is where I got incredibly frustrated, and my fear that this will only exacerbate with all the retirements, is a lot of statesmen who actually wanted good policy and wanted to work across the aisle retired and were replaced by hardcore activists. And so we would propose things saying, look, the taxation rate on this compared to the benefits you're offering compared to other states, the math isn't mathing on this. It's not adding up. And, here's a gap in the system, and here's a gap in the system. And because it was a Republican pushback against their baby, they had to vote it all down instead of just saying, you know what, actually, you're right. I missed that. Let's get that on the bill. And so we're going to see a lot of fixes, unfortunately, have to come through. And it's the business community telling me how much they're suffering that I'm worried about.
And fixes don't come easily, and they don't come quickly. Like, we won't get together until February. You're going to see problems with this well before February. My problem is you spent, I think it was $2 million, maybe it was $3 million to start the autism thing. We thought there's a problem there. We'll start this autism program. And in 5 years, it's like $200 million. People found a way of taking advantage, and look what happened to that money. This, as I understand it, Minnesota Pay Family doesn't have a cap on it, right? It isn't saying that if we get to $100 million, we're cutting it off until we figure out what's up. This is an unlimited supply of cash, and those that have proven they want to steal from us, Senator, they're going to find this as the bounty hole right here. All of us, the entire family can take off. Yeah, let's go.
It's ripe for fraud. It truly, truly is. And, again, and I've said this on your station before, when I'm on a task force designed to cut money, tens of millions of dollars from special education, when I'm having to vote to cut nursing home funding, nothing ticks me off more than seeing us allow fraud to happen and block common sense solutions to prevent it. So the dollars are actually going towards the Minnesotans we want to care for and protect.
I love that. Senator, I don't know how the bad guys are going to use this against you. The Minnesota DFL, what she was talking about, if you didn't catch it, Senator Karen Housley was on and made some comment that she had $3,000 owed in the, lost Minnesota money. And it took her like 6 months to get the money, but it takes nothing to steal from us. It was just that simple of her comment. And they took it out of context thinking she was owed money. It was this whole thing they did. But did you see the comments? People railed against them.
I know. I thought that's what inspired me today to bring that up.
I appreciate it. Senator, I hope you and your family do well. Godspeed to your son to get healthy and back at it so you can get back on the trampoline. And I appreciate you doing this, Senator.
Thanks, Al. See you next time.
She's Senator Julia Coleman on the Al Travis Show.